Hi, my name is Barbara Fritz, and I'm one of the Immersion Day educators. And my area that I introduce to the fourth graders is the place that the conch or the conch shell played on this canal for almost 100 years. It's been 200 years, but the canal closed in 1932, so that was the end of using the conch shell, probably. First of all, we want to talk about what is this. This is a conch shell that has been cut so that you can blow into it. This conch shell has its spire intact. So first of all, we're going to talk about what this is, where it comes from. Then we'll go into why the canal boatmen preferred it and how they used it on the canal. And at the end, then I will attempt to demonstrate how you blow into it, which is the part that the kids in fourth grade really like. All right. First of all, this is the home of a sea snail, and this sea snail creates its home and lives in it forever. Does not go looking for a better shell. It is attached to the inside of the shell. And here we have a picture of the sea snail as it is attached to the shell. Down here you have, at the bottom, you have a foot. And you have two eyes on eye stalks. And if it loses an eye to a predator, it can grow its eye back, which is always interesting. And this foot is very strong, and it can move around quite easily. It can do a football field in a day. It can also jump vertically, which is the way that it gets away from other predators. Because not only do people like to eat the conch, but so do other sea creatures. Now, this conch, or conch, lives in warm salt water, preferably around the equator, and that would be anywhere from Florida down to Brazil in the Atlantic Ocean. And after it is hatched from an egg, the little larva hides in the bottom of the ocean floor for a while, and then it starts taking the mineral salts out of the water, calcium salts out of the seawater, and it excretes it and starts coating itself. Starts up here, and in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction, it starts building a shell around itself in a spiral. And if you want to further investigate, it follows Fibonacci sequence, which you will have to look up because I'm not about to explain that right now. But it does follow a mathematical geometric pattern all the way down. There's a spiral inside of here. It creates this spiral, puts spines out also for protection, and then after about 3 to 5 years, instead of folding this part over, it flares it out and creates a lip. And it's that lip. When that lip is formed, the conch is finished making its shell. Now, as it gets older, the conch will make the shell thicker, but it will not make it much bigger. The average lifespan of the conch, if it doesn't get killed for food, is about 7 years, but some of them that are deep enough in the ocean can live up to 40 years. So that would be a very large one. It can be up to 13 inches in size. All right. Now the question is, how did the canal boatmen get something that was thousands of miles away from here? Back in Finn Gorman's day, most people never traveled more than 10 miles from their homes. The canal boatmen had more of an adventurous life because they could travel 90 miles on their canal boats. They could go 90 miles in the Morris Canal to New York City, or they could go down the Lehigh and the Delaware Canal down to Philadelphia. Both of those were seaports, and it was there that the canal boatmen met sailors who did travel the whole world and who caught the conch, ate it, and saved the shells in some cases, or just threw the shell back in the ocean, where some other animal might use it as a home. So, let me see. The reason the canal boatmen liked the shell and preferred it over a tin horn or a whistle was because, number one, it will not rust. But you wanted to be careful that you did not drop it into the canal, which was kind of a sewer, so you could not get it back out again. So they often put chains on them and chain them to the boat so that they would not fall into the canal. They have a beautiful sound, and you can hear it for about 1/4 of a mile away. So, this was their preferred form of communication. And the canal boatmen on this Lehigh, Delaware canal became famous for using the conch shell. And here you have an old etching of a canal boatman from the early 1800s using a conch shell. The reason you used it was because when you're on the canal, you need to let the lock tender's family know that you are approaching the locks. And those kids in that family have to get out, and they have to open the, turn the wheels in the dog houses and open up those gates so your boat could get into the lock, and then close the gates behind it. So, you had to, then we'd show the kids how to blow into it, and they each had a conch shell that they could practice with. They were dipped and disinfected, so the kids, so it was pretty safe. That was not in this particular time, but in previous years that we had kids here. If you make your mouth very tight, now if you have a conch shell at home, you would have to find somebody to cut this. And it's labor intensive. The woman who cuts them for us uses a diamond blade on a hacksaw, diamond blade, and then she sands it down, I think with a special kind of sandpaper that will make it very smooth. And you have to know how deep to cut it, how much of the spire to take off. You don't want it to be too big of an opening, and you don't want it to be too small. So the sound of this particular shell, which is heavy, this was an older snail, and I will attempt to demonstrate it for you. Okay. You make your mouth really tight. Then you make that kind of a sound where your lips are vibrating because you don't want too much air escaping. And canal boatmen had their own signals. You can make up different variations of the sound, and people in the lock tender's house might even know who's coming. So, this was an activity that the kids really enjoyed, and hope to be able to do this again next year. Thank you.